No introduction for many of you, because you were fortunate enough to see her before. She was here last June, '06, and usually we never have speakers back before 2 years. But it's only been 15 months, and Deanna is back. I have booked 25 appointments over the next 4 days. It was supposed to be 3 days. We've never had anybody more than 2 days before. And then we extended it to a 4th day last week because there were so many people. We still have a waiting list of over 15 people, and we have 25 appointments in the next 4 days. So you can kind of get a feeling for the quality of our guest this month. And it's just been wonderful for me. I had a reading with her a year ago, June, when she was here, and was really blown away by it, as were everyone who had one. She just touches you, and she can tell you about her past lives. I'm sure she'll tell you all about when she was a little girl and all that. You'll feel that too, yes. And how she first recognized some of these gifts that she has. But I have, as I say, I've just been totally blown away by her abilities. And I was really thrilled that she could come back, and it looks like with such a waiting list that we'll have to have her back again before too long. So, from Seattle, Washington, please give a warm welcome to Deanna Chase-Warren. And quickly, we will go an extra 10 minutes because we're starting 10 minutes beyond our latest one. So the meeting will end at 5:10.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of people in here who had NDEs before, so you sure you want to hear about mine?
Yes.
I had 2. The first one happened in 1967. And I was young. I had 3 children at the time, and a bout with peritonitis. So the doctor insisted that I go in to have an hysterectomy. But before he could do that, he had to localize the peritonitis, which is really kind of a gangrene of the insides. I don't know how it got that way, but it did. And so I took medication for a week and stayed down at my mother's house. He couldn't trust me to do it on my own. And after a week, I went in for surgery, and the surgery went fine, but the patient died. The surgery was something new at the time, and they were trying like a bikini scar. Anyway, I came through the surgery, and in the recovery room, a bleeder had worked loose, and blood was filling up under my diaphragm, so I couldn't take a deep breath. And when they finally realized I couldn't breathe, and after my complaining to the nurses, they took me back in for surgery again, and that's when I left. And I remember floating up out of my body and going up to a corner and looking at them working on this person down there. And you know, you're all draped and everything. You can't tell who you are. I felt no, I didn't feel close to that being that was being worked on at all. I was glad to be gone. And the doctor said to one of the nurses, "You can't be in here. You don't have any of those funny little socky things that you wear on your feet." I know there's a name for it, but I can't remember it. So he sent one of the nurses out, and that's what I told him later. He couldn't believe that I knew that. And I said, "Remember me? I was there." And he said, "No, but you were out." And I said, "More than you know." But I was really bored watching them work on this thing down there. And so I left. I just floated up and kept floating and left. And you hear about a tunnel and white light, and I try to make the distinction from other people. It could have been a tunnel. I don't remember seeing any sides on it, but it was dark, darker, and there was a white light way, way down there. While I'm there in this, for lack of a better word, I'll say tunnel, there were other beings there with me, all of us moving towards the light at different rates of speed. There were all kinds of colors and shapes and animals and everything else. And I was so fascinated with the beings who were in this area with me, I kept turning around and see if I knew any of them. I didn't. And some of them were hobbling along, and some of them were almost crawling, and some of them were running, and all of them looked a little dazed, like they didn't know who they were or where they were going. They were all headed in that general direction. So the closer we got to it, the bigger the light was. And I remember walking like that, but it was like being at a sidewalk at the airport. You think you're walking like this, and you're really whizzing along. So when I got to the end, and it was huge and brighter than 1,000 suns, there was no descriptive word to say how brilliant the light was. And yet I was surprised it didn't hurt my eyes. Well, I didn't have eyes, but I digress. Anyway, when I get there, it's like Dorothy in the Land of Oz. Have you seen the movie, The Wizard of Oz? Yeah. She gets to Oz and everything is so brilliant. The colors are incredibly vibrant and almost palpable. If you get a chance to see Robin Williams' movie, what is that? What Dreams May Come. Thank you. They weren't like that. They weren't paint, but they were really intense, but they were also succulent. They were like squishy. They were more than what we think of them. And everything made its own tone. The grass sounded like one tone, and the flowers sounded like something else, and the trees sounded like something else. And together, it wasn't a melody. There was no melody there, but everything toned perfectly, and it was so comfortable and enticing and seductive even. It just drew you in and you wanted to be a part of all of it. And so I'm there and I'm looking around and I see different kinds of critters and a river, very nice river, about as wide as from the stage here to the back. And I can see on the other side, and it looks really interesting over there. So I'm looking for a way to get over there. And down there, a ways, I see this funny little stone bridge with a hump in the middle of it. So I make my way down there, and by the time I get there, there are 3 very tall, thin beings down there. And they're all wearing pastel-colored robes. I don't see any particular features on them, like nobody had a mustache, but they looked really wise, and so I went up to them and I scooted over like I'm going to cross the bridge, and they scooted over, and I scooted back over this way, and they scooted back over this way. I said, you know I can get over there. If you just stand still, I'll work around you somehow. They just made it very clear to me that I was not going across that bridge no matter what. And I was a little frustrated, and with that negative emotion, I came right back into my body and woke up, and that was the end of that. It took me a while because 2 surgeries in as many days, they said it was rough on a person, but I was disgruntled at having to come back. I really wanted to be there. And eventually I went home, acted what I considered normal, and life went on pretty much as usual. I got a job, I took care of kids. I was always interested in metaphysics, but I don't think they called it that then, or if they did, I was not aware of it. It was always woo-woo stuff, and I was always the peculiar one in the family and in some of my friends. But eventually I got married, and in 1972, after my husband Bud died in an automobile accident, I was scheduled, the first one was a partial hysterectomy, and the second one was a complete hysterectomy, which means now I'm really broken, and then that's fine, because I didn't want any more children. I had had this scheduled for a month or so and had to cancel because I had the flu. Then Bud died on a Thursday night, early Friday morning in November, and I decided, surgery. I know what happens when I have surgery. I leave. Okay, we can do this, and I wanted to go be with him. So I did not tell my doctor that I had lost my husband. I just decided that I was going to do all the paperwork that Friday and take care of the stuff that had to be done for him, insurance-wise, and did a holographic will for my children and arranged with my sister to take care of them. And I knew it was going to be for a longer time. She didn't. Where the house would go and what all. It took me 2 days, and I'd rather take a licking than do paperwork. And sure enough, when I went in for surgery, I left and I went directly to Bud, which kind of surprised me. I figured I'd have to look for him a while, but I didn't. He was there, and I was so glad to see him. So I went to him, and I couldn't get close to him. So I said, "Honey, I'm here. Lucky you." He said, you can't be here. I said, no. Please understand, I spent 2 days doing paperwork, miserable paperwork, and I'm staying. I said, "Honey, no, you're not staying." I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm staying." We argued for a while, and I know how to do that really well. So he finally made it clear to me that it wasn't, he said, "It's not up to me. It's not up to you now. You have stuff you have to do. You must go back now. Then later on we'll talk about it. But right now, you have to go back." And I said, "Okay, then tell me what I have to do so I can go back and do it and come back." He said, "It's not like that. The stuff you have to do, I can't tell you about now because you haven't lived long enough and had the experiences that you need to allow you to deal with the stuff that you need to deal with. So anything I could say, you couldn't possibly understand right now, coming from the perspective that you have. So you have to go back." And I went, I'm still really leery about that. He said, "I tell you what, if it makes you feel good, when it's time for you to go, I will come and get you." And I went, okay. If I can't stay anyhow, then I'd rather have that in my mind as a carrot out there. So, and again, with that negative thought, right back in the body I ran. Both times the doctors made funny noises like, you know, we almost lost you for a while. Please. I know where I was. And they made all kinds of excuses, both times. I was allergic to the anesthetic. I was having hallucinations. I didn't know what I was doing. They all have, and maybe that's true for some people, but I know what I saw. And if any one of you has had an NDE, you will know that you can live to be 90. And that NDE, no matter what has happened to your mind, is as clear in your mind as if it happened yesterday. I don't know why that is. You can forget all kinds of other stuff. You can forget your parents' names, your birthday, but that NDE will never leave you. That's just the nature of it. So, after that, I'm afraid I was a little short with the nurses after that. I had IVs, and I just drug that IV pole around with me and just said, you know, if I have to pee here, then get out of my way. Because I'm getting better, so I can go home and do this stuff and be done. I was out of the hospital 2 days early. They couldn't understand that. You're not supposed to heal that fast if you've had those kinds of problems. Nowadays, I just go, okay, whatever you say. I'm not going to argue with you. I know what I know and been there and done that. And it's okay. Since that time, I have learned that people are scary. And I blame our religious community because you'd think ministers would be standing in line saying, please come and talk to our congregation. There's no reason to be frightened of death. There's reason to be frightened of living incorrectly so that when you do die, you go to a good place. Because what goes on in your mind, the mindset you have, I didn't plan on going where I went. I had no preconceived ideas about what death was like. I just knew I wouldn't be in this body. And that was okay. But people who are afraid of dying, people who are terminally ill, they need to hear these things. When I started to work for hospice, they told me I couldn't talk about my NDE because it would scare people. And I said, it's not been my experience. People are hungry to learn that there's so much more to living than this fat little short body that I have out there. I look way different on the other side. And all of you do too. And you recognize each other from life to life, and that's something else. I don't know how I started doing this, but my husband who died, I was looking for a job when we were first together. He said, just that, it ties in. He said, look at this in the newspaper. There's somebody who needs a massage person. I said, no, can't do that. He said, no, it's no experience required. We'll train. And I went, I'm telling you, I can't touch people. He said, we're going to go check it out. I said, no, you can go check it out if you want, but I'm not touching strangers, and I certainly don't want anyone touching me. But he was very persuasive, so we went, and the man there said, here's your oil bottle, you rub it on, you wipe it off. And I went, there's got to be more to it than this. I figured that part out later. It took me a while, and then on the way home from work one night, I guess I worked there about a month, and I had a client who, well, he was laying on his stomach, and I was working on his right leg. So I'm rubbing the calf and up the thigh, and all of a sudden the leg disappeared under my hands. Just diminished to where it was only a bone with strange feeling skin, like tanned. And so I grabbed hold and took a deep breath and tried to remember who I was and what I was doing there. And this sweet little guy, I hadn't met him before, little Cancer Leo guy with a round moon face and freckles and sandy hair. And when that happened to his leg, he felt me stop working on him, so he turned around and he said, "Hey Deanna, what are you doing back there?" And I said, just a minute, I'm not sure what's happening, but I'll find out. And when he turned around to look at me, this little round moon face didn't look like that. He had a long, thin, swarthy complexion and a black goatee, mustache. And I could see him in my kitchen in Spain, 1500 something. And he's got this leg that's crippled. And he kind of drags it around with him. And then every once in a while he'll lean back on it, almost like a chair. And so I said, "Bob, have you ever been to Spain?" And he said, "No, but it's the one place in the world I always wanted to see." And I said, "That's funny, because I see you in my kitchen and you're teasing my teenage daughter about you're going to wait for her until she grows up so you guys can get married. And I see you wearing a Spanish doublet and hose and dragging this leg around with you." And he went, "Really? The right leg?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "I broke that leg a couple of years ago and I had a cast on hip to heel. And the doctor was amazed that that's exactly what I did. I drug it around with me and then I leaned back on it from time to time." And so I'm still trying to make sense of what's going on. I didn't remember having done a past life reading before, but this one was unfolding right under my hands. I said, "I see you're not royalty, but you're," we would call them nouveau riche now. You earned a bunch of money, you were smart, you were shrewd, you bought ships, you went to what was then called the New World, and you brought back gold for my husband, who at the time was a goldsmith. And that's how we knew you were a neighbor. And you died that lifetime on one of your ships trying to come back home, and in a storm the ship sank and you drowned. And he went, "That's why I don't go to Spain now, because I don't even take baths. I take showers because I'm terrified of drowning." So it was kind of a learning experience for both of us. And on the way home that night, and I had to drive like 40 miles, so I had time to think about this, and I remembered then being very young, and I was the first grandchild in my family, so my grandmother was very attentive, and I didn't like being on her lap because I would see the Civil War when she touched me. Well, at 3 or 4, you don't know what the Civil War is. You only know how miserable it looks and how miserable it smells and how uncomfortable you are when this person touches you. So it became very easy for me to not want people to touch me. And my Uncle Roy, the same thing. When he would pick me up and put me on his lap, I would see the First World War. Both of these people were way too young to have been in those conflicts. My Uncle Roy was in the Second World War, but not in the First. And I could smell the gas in the trenches. I could see the barbed wire and people dying and smell the blood. And it was just awful for this very small person. So I just shoved this stuff back in my mind somewhere and didn't deal with it because it was overwhelming. But then when I got older, I realized why I don't like people to touch me, because I see stuff. when I touch them. And I went, aha, we have an aha moment here. It's been different since then because now I know I don't have to see stuff when I touch people. I do foot reflexology, and I don't always do past life readings when I do it. But I have to make the distinction in my own head about whether this person wants this, needs this. And that's how I got to do that. And I don't remember doing it before my NDE. Then I do remember being a kid, and most kids do out-of-body stuff, most of them. Most of them know who their guides are. They see them, or they smell them, or they hear them. And little kids before the age of 7, just talk to them. They'll tell you anything. And they know all kinds of wonderful stuff. And Hitler himself said, give me any child before the age of 7. He'll never be anything but a Nazi. This early training that we do for them and to them and with them is very, very important, because that stuff they shove in the back, but it's always there. And sometimes we forget where we came from, but in a crisis, that stuff comes right up to the front, and whether we mean to or not, we remember a bunch. If you can get little kids to tell you, it's wonderful to hear their stories of their guides, and the parents call them imaginary playmates. It's their guides, and they're wonderful to watch. When my son was, he would have been 3 or 4, I guess. And Catherine, my oldest daughter, was probably 2.5 or 3. She's 11 months younger. Anyway, I took them for an outing in San Francisco. We lived there at the time. And on board the Balclutha, which is a whaling vessel in the harbor, my son loves anything having to do with natural water, not bath water at the time, not shower water. He was allergic to that. But anyway, I thought this would be a good outing, and it didn't cost anything. So, and I was a single mom and always looking for free places to take the kids. So it was museums, and anyway, we went on board the Balclutha, and Alan is up the rigging just like a monkey. I jumped. I had to jump really high to catch his ankle. He was so fast. Just shimmied right up and I jerked on him and got him back down. I said, what are you doing? Don't you know you just scare me to death? He said, Mom, I do this every day. And I went, you do not do this every day. He remembered being a sailor a long time ago, and it's amazing what little kids come up with. It's fun to talk to them. You get a whole new world out there. What else, Diane? I know. You wanted me to tell about when my husband died. I tried really hard to get hold of his mother so that she could participate in the interment, or he wanted to be cremated, and he was a coroner's investigator, so he knew most stuff about bodies, living and dead, mostly dead. Anyway, she was going from one Hawaiian island to another, and I couldn't reach her all that day. And it was on a Friday, and if I wanted him cremated, which is what he wanted, they would have to do it that day, or they would have to embalm him to hold him over until Monday. So I said, go ahead and do it. I will make it right somehow with his mother. But that was Friday. I went in Sunday for surgery on Monday morning early, and I was going to pick up his ashes on my way home from the hospital. Maybe not. But Mary came home while I was in the hospital, and she was not happy with me for having cremated. It was against their religious beliefs. And so I was having to apologize all over myself. And when I got back home, she came to spend the night, and like I said, she was really unhappy with me. But she came in my bedroom early the next morning crying and said, Bud came to me last night in a dream and said, Deanna did exactly what I instructed her to do, and you're going to have to deal with this. So I said, Mary, I didn't mean to exclude you at all. I had arranged for a friend of ours to take him up in an airplane. He wanted to be scattered at sea. So I said, if it will make you feel better, you do that for me instead of me doing it. If that will help you feel included in this, then that's just Jake with me. So she was pleased, and I guess that smoothed stuff over for a while. And a few months later, I don't know, 5 or 6 months later, remember, by this time I have teenagers and I'm tearing my hair and swearing at him for having left me all alone to raise teenagers. And one night, he came to me in a dream. And he said, come here, bring me that chair. We had a very large kitchen at that time, old house. So he sits down in the chair. He said, now go and fetch that great big butcher knife. And what for? He said, I want you to, remember he's a coroner's, he's a scientist. I want you to insert it laterally, not this way. And I want you to insert it in my neck, and then I want you to walk around me. And I went, no, that will cut your head off. He said, Deanna, I'm dead. I want you to know I'm dead. I want you to stop calling on me. He said, I love you. And so when you scream and holler at the kids and you want help, I hear you. Like any person who loves someone else, like a parent, you know, mom, you may have stuff going on the stove and some kid yells, Mom! And so you drop whatever, you stop whatever you're doing and you go and see what they need, what they want. He said, sometimes when you call me, I have other stuff going on. I'm busy. He said, you're just dealing with teenagers. You're fine. You have good instincts and you'll be fine. So I'm telling you people, they're there. They come to visit us when they can. Don't yank them from what they're doing by saying, God, come help me. Take what time they can give you, and they'll always come and check on you. If they loved you when they were alive, they love you when they're on the other side. Give them a break. Believe me, they are really busy doing really important work. When my grandmother died, she died the same year Bud did, by the way. She'd been sick for a while, and my mother, who was also the eldest daughter, was driving everyone crazy. She'd go to the hospital every day. She'd wash her face and hands, she'd help them feed her, she'd help them turn her. But she wasn't letting go of her. And she'd hold her hand and say, Mother, please don't leave me. And so one day I said, Mom, you have to let Grandma go. She hurts. It would be mean to keep her here. If she were going to get to go on a world cruise, you wouldn't keep her here just because you would miss her, would you? And she said, well, no, but that's fun. I said, she's going to be really busy doing important work. She said, how do you know this? I'm not sure. But go to her and tell her it's okay if she goes. So she did that the next day, and Grandma died that night. Then Mother's mad at me because Grandma's gone. I said, Mom, Grandma will come and see you. How do you know that? I said, you just wait. She will, I promise. So a few months later, she's boo-hooing, and I said, so why aren't you talking to Grandma when she comes to see you? She said, how do you know she comes to see me? I said, at night before you go to sleep, do you feel somebody do this? Really easy, touch your hair. She said, how do you know? I said, because Grandma told me. That's how I know. You think I follow you around all the time? No. Grandma comes to see you, to check and see how you are. She talks to you. You don't listen. You don't answer. She said, I didn't know that's what it was. I said, when you want to talk to a loved one on the other side, you get quiet, and then you talk to them, and then you listen everywhere. You listen with all of you, not just your ears, because sometimes they touch you in different ways, but very unique ways, and that's how you know when they're there. So it's better. Last year my brother died, and my stepdad within a couple of months, and my mom had to deal with all that. She's much better now. She's much better. It's hard raising parents. Did anybody notice? It's really hard. And it's interesting to watch little kids raise their parents. Anything else, Diane? Just a second. Let me see if she can think of something else, and then I'll ask her question.
How you started your readings? I mean, you did that, but some of the early readings.
Some of the various readings. I have a really good friend, and I've asked her if she minds if I tell this story, and she said it's okay. She came to me through a mutual friend. And so after a little while, I said, I see Jamaica around you. And she started crying, just really quietly crying. And I said, another lifetime, you're married to a planter over there. He's hornswoggled you and your parents. They believe he's a wonderful person. He isn't. You are there on this huge plantation. There are only slaves there and him. And he leaves you a lot alone. And you're really scared of the black people because you don't have any at home, except for one personal slave, and you call her Missy. And she is the only person you let close to you. And she's crying some more. And I said, and you know her this lifetime? She said, yes. And I said, she goes to your church, doesn't she? She said, yeah. She comes from Jamaica this lifetime too. And she calls Kathy Missy this lifetime, and did that right at the start. But when she and Tom got married, he had won a cruise for their honeymoon, the Caribbean, and when they get to Jamaica, she can't get off the ship. And she's standing there holding onto the rail and crying and wants to go. And Tom, poor Tom, doesn't understand what's going on. He's going, what? We have this wonderful cruise and you're stuck here on the boat. Why? I don't know. But she was delighted to hear that story so that she could put it kind of in perspective. That's a word I'm using a lot more these days because everything is a matter of perspective. I think that part we're done with, and maybe we should open up for questions, because the last time I was here, questions for an hour and a half. So, questions from the floor?
What's the busy doing?
Wait a minute. Could you stand up, please, and say your name so that I can connect with you? Because I can't see, with the lights here, I can't see you.
B is my name, and I'd like to know, what are they doing? You say...
Oh, they're busy on the other side?
Yes.
My grandma works with light and helps young people, young spirits, come to be born. I don't know what all of them do, but they have jobs there, just like you have jobs here. The pay is negligible, but they have life, pardon the pun, they have work to do there. And wouldn't you rather think of people that you care about being really busy doing important stuff than just playing harps.
Now, I would think it'd be so different than the worldly life.
It is, but that doesn't mean it's less important.
No, so I just wondered what is it?
Well, it depends on the person. Everybody has different attributes. Everybody has different gifts, so they utilize them better than we do here. Because here, we have to make a salary to pay our bills and stuff. Over there, they do what they're best equipped to do. So my grandma works with, like I said, light and color, and the children who come in on different colored rays, I don't know if she sorts them out or she said she works with color, and I believe her. So Bud's working with people who have died and have really dark experiences, like people who have OD'd, people who have, because he's really strong. He was a strong individual when he was in the body and did exorcism kind of stuff. He was a heavy duty work. That's what they do, and that's what he does on the other side. Did I just a second. Yeah. Go ahead. Stand up.
Rachel,
Rachel?
how did you start your business? How did you realize what you can do?
That's what I told you when I started doing massage and
the massage.
didn't want to do it. Way in the back, blonde lady. Tell me your name, please.
Frida Castillo. I have something that whenever a beloved person goes to the spirit and leaves the body, I'm able to know from some place here or here.
You have really strong guides, my dear.
And then I feel...
Do you listen often?
Yeah, I try to listen as often as I can. Sometimes I miss it and then I know later that I missed it. But I see, I wish I can understand more their language because it's so...
Tell them you're having a problem. Say, tell me slowly. Talk to them. It's just like the guides are right here. Most of them stay right at your left back shoulder.
It's in the moment that they go,
Oh,
is that I'm able to see from the top of my head
wow.
where
Neat.
where they are. But
That's neat.
the joy and the tremendous awesomeness over there, they try to tell me and then
They
I
go
try
to people
receive
who
it.
will hear them. Most of us are so busy doing our own everyday lives that we're not paying attention.
They are all happy when they live and they don't be sad for nothing.
You're lucky. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse because sometimes they're there when you don't want them, but you'll learn to work with it.
Are you able to know if my beloved grandmother, what she's doing?
She's with you,
But what kind of work is
but there's a man who's with you all the time. He's the one you came in with. He won't leave you till you die. Your grandmother will only be here for a while.
My grandmother is in heaven.
Pardon me?
My grandmother is in the spirit.
I know.
She's with you.
She's with you right now.
And who's that man?
Who's
the
that
man?
Your guide, Thomas. He says his name is Thomas.
Do I know him?
Not this lifetime. I mean, you don't know him in the body this lifetime. But he's going to be with you till you go. Now,
Okay,
you.
Deanna.
Thank you.
Oh, my name is Ted Morrison. And anyway, Deanna, when you start to pick up on a reading for someone, do you go into their immediate past life, or you go way back before that?
There is no criteria.
Okay.
They're not in consecutive. I never know what's going to show
Okay.
up. See, everything's hidden in a cellular thing. I don't know how I make that electromagnetic connection, but I've learned to trust it. And you'd be surprised, some of the stuff that comes through, I just think, I can't tell that person that. Who wants to hear they've been a marauder, a Viking who killed people? But they have to know, because we've all been everything. We've been every color, we've been every race, we've been every religion, we've been super, super bad guys, and we've been really, really good guys. And this is what we got this lifetime. This is the hand we were dealt this lifetime, and you choose it. You choose to come back to the parents you come to. You choose to come back to the astrological sign to give you the tools to help you deal with your everyday stuff. And so when you hear people say, I didn't ask to be born, baloney. Yes, you did, and you planned it really well. And the part that's really fascinating is the kids choose us. So think about this. You think about abused kids. There was something on the other side, some kind of an agreement that they made, that they had to do this. Either, you know, my poor little mind can barely grasp this, but they choose the lessons. And it's hard to think of that because they're so miserable. But if you can do whatever it is you have to do. When my kids were little, I worked in a mental hospital. And I worked on the nursery where we got babies in there. Hydrocephalic babies with heads that are like this, that you know they're going to die. If you choose a lifetime like that, if you choose to be blind, if you choose to be crippled, these are huge, horrible, hard lessons. And if you can do these and not ask for sympathy, but do the best you can, this puts you way up on the ladder. So if you're still here, you're still learning. You still got lessons. And if you're gone, then bye-bye, baby. You'll come back someplace else doing a different lesson. And if you're still alive, you're still learning. Yes?
My name is Virginia.
Hi, Virginia.
Hi. Everybody in our family except for one child are Scorpio. My husband was born on the 31st of October. I'm on the 2nd of November. Our son is the 4th. Our next son is the 11th. Yes.
I'm sorry. That's gotta be hard.
Not a lot of fun.
You don't do little lessons, honey. You do huge lessons.
Thank you.
And God bless you. Somebody's got to do them. I'm glad it's you. Scorp husband, was he not? Yes, lady in the white.
Hi, I'm Marion Rosenberg.
Hi, Marion.
I had my brother who was ill. He died 2 years ago. He was a twin, an identical twin. And he didn't want to let go of his life for the last few days. He wanted to make it through the new year because he always helped a lot of people with money. Of all things, he wanted to make sure everybody was taken care of. And I talked to my brother and I said, you know, we're all going to be okay. When you're ready, you can go. Don't hold on for us. We're all going to be okay.
Did he believe you?
He did, but he often doesn't believe in a lot of the things that I see or think or feel, but he sort of did. And
He comes to visit you, you know.
yes. Yes, he does.
He
And-
touches your ankle
Oh, that was when Susie, oh, okay. Thank you.
just before you go to sleep at night. That's when we really let down and relax a little bit. And that's when we can feel things easiest. Doesn't mean they don't happen all the time.
I have somebody who comes and touches.
I think that's a grandparent.
Real close.
I think that's a grandparent.
Sometimes I get in the way of my third eye, they're on top of me, and I don't know. And I don't know, I see mainly colors, I sense things, and I have had an out-of-body experience, but I never hear. Sometimes I think hear, if that makes any sense to you, but I'm
You want to
instinctive.
hear.
But I
You can
probably
be trained,
frightened.
Marion. You can be trained.
Okay.
It's like any other thing. If you practice, if you have a good teacher and you practice, you can learn to do almost anything. You can develop almost any muscle.
I could use a few. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh. Way in the back.
My name is Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Two questions, two areas related to personal cosmology, I guess. One is about reincarnation. Your perspective on, is it always true? Is it only true for some people? And then,
What do you mean, is it true?
are we sort of stuck in a wheel until somehow we're liberated?
We can
from it
stop. We can stop.
and then go to another dimension?
It's like being on a treadmill, and it's like reciprocation. You kill me this lifetime, I kill you next lifetime. You rob from me, I rob from you. We have to stop. We just have to say, I forgive you, I forgive me. I'm not doing this anymore, this is dumb. But it's the emotion that ties us on this nonsense. So it's emotion that brings us back here. It's guilt, it's love, it's as many emotions as you can dredge up.
So leaving here with no attachments frees us from the...
It's really hard to say in any particular case, but mostly, like you, it's a wheel. So you have to stop it first and say, done now, done with doing that.
Thank you.
And it's hard to forgive somebody. It's really hard to forgive them, and it's even harder to forgive you.
Then Danny Brinkley had, after his third near-death experience, came back committed to helping souls in purgatory who are trapped in some dimension. Do you have any insight on that?
That's training. Purgatory, hell, I mean, I know people who have died and have had horrible experiences. And actually out there, Howard Storm, his, if you haven't seen him when he shows up, he is remarkable because he was not only an agnostic, he was an atheist. And he went to a terrible place and tells about it and then turned it around. He said, I never knew a prayer. I wasn't taught to pray. The only thing I could think of was the Pledge of Allegiance that said God in it. And he said, I kept saying that. And every time I said it, the evil spirits would recede. And he said, finally, I just said, God, 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 and they left. So now he runs a missionary place in one of the islands. Talk about conversion. But we are really conditioned to our belief system. If we're like a child and believe in everything and anything and aren't tied to Catholic belief, a Buddhist belief, a Muslim belief, if we aren't tied to any one of those, it's amazing the stuff we can come up with. And children, if you get a chance to see the new TV series Kid Nation, there are 40 children in a ghost town in New Mexico. And they are getting along because there's no politics and there's no religion and they're just dealing with each other on a one-to-one basis. It's an amazing thing. If they can pull this off, they should take this to the United Nations. I'm telling you, it's a remarkable thing. Did I answer your last question?
Thank you.
Programming? It really is programming. Yes, sir. In the red?
My name is Armando.
Armando.
Hi. I have a question. Are there some people who haven't here on Earth now that are kind of here to start helping and they haven't had a whole lot of past lives? Because I've kind of had like a psychic friend tell me that myself, I know it's selfish, but I'm here more to help. It's not more about learning lessons and stuff like that. I'm just curious.
There are spirits who have never incarnated. This is crash course time here. When you take a body on the earth, this is crash course. It's hard, it's miserable, the lessons never stop, and you have to really want to work on your spirit to be here. So it's very scary. There are some spirits on the other side who've never taken a body. And there are some here who get scared and get comfortable on the other side and don't want to come back. And there are others, this is an excellent example. There are young soldiers who, 18, 19, 25, they feel really cheated. They had their lives taken away from them on the battlefield. They didn't get a chance to do what they wanted. They didn't have kids. They didn't have a life. They were busy fighting, and that gets on the wheel. They die. They're mad because they're not done. They come back in the first available body, and what do? The same thing all over again. What do we have? Wars every 20, 25 years. These are people who have gotten stuck in this mess. Haven't thought it through, haven't learned to say, I forgive you, I'm sorry, I made mistakes, you made mistakes. Can we just meet each other spirit to spirit, heart to heart, mind to mind, and not blame and not hurt intentionally? I hurt people, I don't mean to, and if I can see on their face what I've done, I will apologize then and there and mean it sincerely. We have to do that for them, we have to do that for us, so that we don't carry around this baggage with us that's killing us worldwide. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I get rambling and yes, lady, in the red.
My name is Joy, and
Joy?
I have a couple of questions. One, when a person has an appointment with you for a reading, a massage reading, is it possible or is it standard practice to kind of talk about what challenges?
I don't want to know anything.
You know,
I read better if I'm cold.
and do you have a sense that those, the past lives that you get have significance for that person this time? I mean, there might be 40 or 400?
Almost invariably. I
So-
haven't yet had somebody that, sometimes, I had one lady tell me, I don't know where you got that, that doesn't have anything to do with me. And when she got home, a week later, she called me back and she said, how in the world did you know? That stuff happened to me when I was 6 years old. I'd forgotten all about it and didn't realize how it had shaped my life. She said, thank you, I'm now able to forgive a bunch of people. I don't know where it comes from, it's not me. It has to come through me, it's not of me.
Then I have, well, most of these people have met a near-death experiencer who's an animal communicator, and through her, I've, through my dogs, learned a lot about a lot of my past lives with them, and even they have access to some that they weren't in. And both of the dogs have talked about times that they were humans. And I'm wondering if you've had that experience with people that you talk to.
That's called transmigration.
Right.
And I personally don't adhere to that. I don't mean that it doesn't happen. I just mean it's not part of my awareness. Every once in a while, I will see a spirit, dog, cat, something in the house. But I don't think of people becoming critters and critters becoming people. In India, they do. That's normal there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just not part of, I have all I can do to deal with the ones I do.
Right.
And
And what they had to say was it was not a pecking order thing or a karma thing, it was a choice they made. And
that's very possible.
so Bailey said, you know, it's hard being human, I'd rather be
It
I'd
is
rather
miserable.
be a supporter, that's what he called being an
supporter,
animal, a
ooh.
supporter. My last question is, you talked about the forgiveness, interpersonal dynamics and getting off the treadmill, but a person whose issues really are with themselves, just, I mean, getting in their own way. I mean, I don't have a lot of people.
A lot of times that is correct. We are in our own way.
And is that a past life thing too, or
I mean,
karmic, or?
when you take on a body and you have like, I don't, for lack of a better phrase, you have like a contract on the other side. And you come here and you've got these things you want to do in the body, okay? I want to write these 3 things and I want to fix those 2. When you come back, you get stuff you don't have in spirit. You can feel things, you can taste things, you can smell things. You get so wrapped up in the sensuousness of having a body, that stuff goes out the window. You many times forget what the heck you're doing here. Because you feel so much in a body. And the intellectual part, yeah, that's nice, but try and do that. When you're feeling somebody that you think you care about more than anything in the world, all your good wishes, all your good intentions, they're somewhere back there somewhere, but it's really hard to conjure them up. And that's the problem. It takes a body to fix the stuff, and then when you get a body, the very thing that messes you up is what you came to fix, and that's a conundrum.
Is there some hope out of that message?
Pardon me?
Is there some hope you can give me out of the message?
Let me think about that. Way in the back in the pink.
I'm wondering if you think that suicide is something that was just meant, they chose that, or was that how do you?
It's people who are desperate and want out. They don't think they can deal with what they have to deal with at that particular moment, and they just want gone. Now, there are times I've had 2 people that I came across that committed suicide, wartime, both times, had endured terrible, terrible tortures, knew they couldn't do anymore, were afraid to betray their comrades, and they killed themselves on purpose. And that's not for them, that's for them. So
it's sounding in a way like if they couldn't handle it, perhaps parents or someone else could have done more to prevent it? No?
we're prisoners in our own mind. It's hard for me to say what's going on in your mind. It's hard for you to say what's going on in mine. We can only do what we can at any given moment. And our perspective changes over the years. So you want to grow. You want to learn new ways of looking at things and dealing with people. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it takes even longer. And I'm just here, I don't know anything. I just work here. Yes, in the white?
You had said, my name is Helene, you had said earlier in your comments that when, some of your relatives that close to you have passed on, that it's better to just let them go because they have important work to do. And, it stuck in my mind because actually my mother passed away a while ago and I still communicate with her.
She'll come back when she can.
Right, but it's like, she's told me it's basically, she wants to come back, and she feels that there's still work that needs to be done, so.
If you can communicate with her that well, then maybe she can help you with what you have to do left. Because she sees things from a different perspective, remember?
Right, that's what she says. And it kind of dovetailed to what she was saying about getting in your own way.
Meditation helps a lot.
Thank you. All right, so basically it's just learning how to quiet your mind.
The monkey chatter. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, young lady.
Yeah, do you believe in old souls? Because if we're all particles of consciousness, wouldn't we all be the same age?
Do I believe in what?
Old souls.
Old souls. Oh, well. I have a great-granddaughter who's one.
So how would you define that? Because, if we were all created at the same time, in consciousness.
I think we were all created at the same time. I think they chose to come to Earth at different times.
More times, like?
So some of them have more practice than others. And sometimes that's positive stuff, and sometimes it's stuck stuff, doing the same stuff over and over. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, this is always a question I had. And I just want to make one little comment about when you're telling small children that, like in my case, my father died when I was really young. And they said, well, he had work to do. He has work to do. But that's not really like we're talking about, but that's really not a good thing to tell a child. Because you're like, what about his work as my parents?
Everybody has their own work, here and there. you came back for certain things, he came back for certain things. Sometimes you can do it in the body, sometimes you've done all you can in this body. And so you take up the rest of it on the other side, if you're lucky.
I don't quite understand
And honey, if I were on the other side right now, I probably could tell you, but from this particular vantage point, I can only tell you what they tell me. And everybody is just a teeny bit different. So I don't know what his job was.
No, I just think it's dangerous to kind of say that when you're talking to a child, that's all. Because it makes them feel less important than the other side.
Oh, that's not what I meant at all.
No, that's what I was getting at, though. I just think that's kind of a dangerous statement to make when you're talking to, because that's how people try to console you.
Oh. I'm sorry, my mind doesn't work like that. There are people who try to control you, whether it's on this side or on the other side.
You know, so if you're talking to a child whose parent died at 9/11, and you go, oh, well, that's okay, honey.
I wouldn't tell that to a child.
Because God really needed your father or mother, you know, in heaven. And you're like, well, what about me, you know? Didn't, you know,
Oh.
you know?
She's not saying you did that. She's
Yeah.
No,
saying
I'm
someone
saying
did
in
that
general,
too.
that's, because we've been talking about that, you know, the past hour, about, you know.
I don't know that I would say that to a child. I think when a child loses a parent at a relatively young age, they're going to feel miserable no matter what you tell them, because they're going to feel the loss more than anything else. But they're allowed those feelings, and they should be allowed those feelings for a while. And then after a few months, then you say, okay, I know we missed so-and-so, but see, we're still alive, we're still gonna keep going, and they're busy on the other side, and you lead into this thing slowly. You don't just say, oh, they're gone, bye. They're busy on the other side now. That's mean.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of gives the kid an inferiority complex like that. Like they're not as
I could
important
see how that would do
as the
that.
other side. You know, like the other side's more important than their job and being attached to the child. You know,
Anything?
I think that's kind of messed up.
Yes, right here.
I had my
Can you tell me your name, please?
Geraldine. My name is Geraldine. A friend of mine, they lost the father at a very young age, and the child grieved for the father, but at the same time, the mother taught the child how to open up oneself and to experience the father on the other side. And it allowed all the beautiful quirks to come in, the smell of flowers, driving down the street, you see the father's name on the street sign. I mean, all sorts of
Neat
guidance
stuff.
and finding a house. I mean, it's just like, they're just, you just have to learn how to relate on another level.
Yeah.
I think we're done. Oh, no, there's more. Way in the back, lady in a dark.
My name is Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
I'm curious about how you get your information.
So am I, honey.
No, I'm not sure how it works, but I have had experiences with strong feelings, words, but not really hearing words. I guess it would be like sentient, maybe, where.
That's what we call it.
But I don't really see, and I'm wondering, is this like through your third eye, or is it?
You mean me? How do I
Yes,
see?
experiences, yes.
When I touch somebody and close my eyes, it's like seeing an old silent movie. It moves really jerky, and sometimes they go really fast, and I have to tell them to slow down because I can't say it fast enough. I have lots of help. I help the person that I'm reading for. I have their guides, I have mine, and I try going at it with a white light, and please, I need the truth. They need the truth, at least as much as we know of it. And if it isn't positive, if it doesn't come from a good place, I don't want it.
So like well, I think that everybody has a sixth sense.
Yes.
And so, probably, we all get information from the spirit world,
Mhm.
and I'm just curious as to how it comes through you.
That's how it works. I touch them and they,
And I have a question, this is personal. I had a brother named Bobby who died before I was born. And I'm always Bob's, I meet Bob's all the time and see the name Bobby everywhere. Do you get-
he's just doing this to you. I'm still here. I'm still here. Look
Even
at
though I
that,
never
I'm
knew
still.
him. Yeah. Curious, okay, thank you.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
My name's Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Hi. When my father passed away, about 6 years ago, at the time he passed away, about 2 in the afternoon, and when he went, he took me to a place with him, some place where the sky was totally red, and the big green ocean, and he was on the beach and looking across this big ocean. And, I mean, to get to this place, it was like traveling at really fast speeds to get to this place. What is it? What would that place be?
I think he's colorblind.
No, I saw the sky.
Oh, okay. Are you colorblind?
No, as
It's,
a matter of fact, I couldn't believe the space I was in, so I made a painting of it.
okay. It could have been another plane. It could have been another planet. I don't know. We get to go there from time to time if we're lucky. If we have really strong guides who can take us and bring us back. I've done that. Long time ago.
What job would he be doing now?
What job would he be doing? Honey, see me afterwards and I'll touch you and I'll see if I can find out. Now, blonde lady,
I just have a question, well, two actually.
I need to hear you.
Sorry, okay, can you change your contract?
People keep trying to do that all the time.
If you don't like what you're creating in reality, whatever, can you change it?
I'm not a good person to talk to about that because I've tried to change this contract several times. And they say, you know,
Because the reason I'm even asking is that the conversation with God book I read recently, it resonated with me, but according to him, you create your reality and you can recreate and change
you do.
everything at your
If
will.
you don't like it, work on changing it.
Like if you're here and you're in something now and you don't like it, it's said recreate. You're creating as you go along, and it's.
It doesn't happen like that. If you are unhappy with the way your life's going, it didn't happen overnight that you got to where you are. It took a while for your brain to make the necessary changes, for you to expect different things in your life, for you to work towards that end, and eventually you'll get there. But it's not going to happen overnight.
And the other question I have, also the conversation with God book, well, to me, I got the impression you don't have guides necessarily. You just have direct communication. There's no need for guides, and you don't necessarily have guides.
You may not have guides. I have guides. Some people call them angels. Some people call them.
So some people do, some don't. Is that not everybody has a guide?
Everybody has a guide.
Everybody's a guide.
Everybody comes in with a guide. You get somebody the minute you're born. The minute you go, you get it. And that many times the spirit of a baby that a mom's carrying will come in and out while she's pregnant. And when the baby goes, the spirit goes in and doesn't leave till the baby dies, until the human being dies. And the guide is with them every single step of the way. There are times when, like 9/11 happened, and if I know there's like the earthquake in Chile, I send Raymond down to help. I say, I'm home, I'm not going anywhere, I'm safe. You go help them over because they need all the help they can get.
I'm confused because the book Conversation with God, it seems to indicate that there is no need for guides, or we don't have guides.
That's one person's opinion. And they're entitled, just like I'm entitled to my opinion, they're entitled to theirs. Maybe that part works for them. Are we done? Oh, yes, sir. Ma'am?
Oh, me?
Uh-huh.
I'm Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
My question is more geared towards.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, I'm
Maybe
very
I'm just getting
soft.
old and.
No, it's me. In terms of like souls staying together, like you're talking about your husband. are there souls that stay together for like eternity or whatever? I mean,
There are lots of people who want to think so. I think, oh God, I think there are soul groupings because you come back in different, my family's been together several lifetimes. We take different roles. And when you get to the place where, whether it's a husband or a child or a grandparent, and I can recognize this soul, whatever body she's wearing this lifetime, my soul can recognize her soul and appreciate who this being is, no matter what body she's wearing at the time, then I think we're off that wheel. I think we've gotten to that place. We take on a whole bunch of different roles, parent, child, grandparent, boss, enemies. They make great soulmates because the connection is there. And that's what grabs you. The emotion is what goes, gotcha. So however you want to work that, if you want to consider this person your soulmate, if that works for you this lifetime, it's okay by me, man. I thought we were done. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary.
I wanted to ask, I was attuned in Reiki, and I was given a crystal to contact my guide. And what are your feelings about?
I love crystals. I have them all over my house of varying shapes and sizes and colors and kinds.
Okay.
Remember to clear them. Because they
And
can only take on so much stuff, and then they need to get cleared.
Is
So
there a special way to? I don't know how to do that.
Depends on who you are and what. Every once in a while, I take all mine and bury them in the backyard for a month. Or sometimes I put them in the bathtub and run cold water in them and over the full moon time. It just depends on what you like, who you are, what's comfortable for you. You're the one who lives with you. I don't know.
I'm not quite sure I know what you mean by clearing it. Does it get
Okay.
negative energy?
Yeah, it absorbs stuff.
Right.
And so sometimes they're absolutely full. And they just need to be cleared. So some people take them to the ocean and let the salt water clear them. Some people put them in the ground. Some people do a spell. Some people put them in cold water. Some people put them in hot water. Whatever works for you.
Sunshine.
Sunshine is really good.
How can you tell if it's been cleared? Just by the act of doing it?
What does it feel like to you?
Well, right now it doesn't feel like it needs to be cleared.
Okay,
does it?
then maybe it's not full
Not
yet.
yet, it's not full yet.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure how to say it. Not all of us come into the body. There's a part of us that is still in another conscious plane after we're born.
Really? That's an interesting concept. I don't know about that concept. I'm still learning too. I still got a body, and I'm still learning, so.
Well, my son told me I was a hologram and that I'm in a different dimension. I'm like, yes, I said, you picked me out on TV. He's 5, I don't know, he said
We're really limited by our thought processes. We're really limited by the physicalness of us. So, if you can expand that, however you can do that is all to the good, because that's what we're here for, to keep learning. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Could you talk a bit about how to contact your guides?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, could you just talk a bit about how to contact your guides?
How to contact your guides. Last time I was here, I had 50 people out there, no, probably 25, ask me, what's my guide's name? And sometimes if I can touch them, I can tell them, because they usually stand, Raymond's on this side, my guide, but he does this to me when and then he'll say things like, turn right, and then I find out later there was an accident down the road if I'd gone that way. I've learned over the years to listen to him, but boy, it's not easy.
So what was your first introduction to Raymond? I mean, how did you even know to listen?
Oh God, how much time do you have? I wanted so badly to get in touch with my guide. And I had a friend who did automatic writing. Well, I tried and tried. I couldn't make this thing work. I just couldn't. And so I just kind of gave up and turned my hand over, and he wrote backhand. And it's so different from my own that it finally went, okay, this is who he is. Meditation is a good way. Automatic writing. Have somebody who's psychic tell you. Many of them can describe. I've done some of that. Sometimes it works.
I think Sylvia Brown has a book on contacting your guide.
Yes.
So that might be more.
But basically, all you have to do is talk to them.
That's it. Just talk to them, because they're right here. They're, as I said, they're usually at your left side because the left side of you is the female side, the intuitive side of you, and the right side of you is the male side. So we need both. One is not better than the other. We gotta have them both. And if you want to hear, the left ear is a little more receptive a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, than this one. So talk to them and then listen, and they'll talk back to you.
Is guide and angel the same?
That's what I call them.
What's the question?
Are guides and angels the same? I think so. I think there are other angels, but we all have one in particular. The rest of them, we get more, and they teach us what they can, and then they go and teach somebody else, and we get new ones. And it's just like school. We just keep learning till we don't.
When do they come from, guys?
They come from where we come from. It's just that they don't have a body.
Central casting.
Yes, central casting, that's really good. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna tell her, Dr. Brian Weiss, the one who wrote Many Lives, Many Masters, has a little book and a CD for a guided visualization meditation to get in touch with your spirit guides. Here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, my name is Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi. Just wondered, I tried to do this a few years back with my friend's daughter, as far as to ask her about, past lives. And I don't know if I probably did something, probably didn't do it right, because all she said, oh no, but basically, I just said, if her name's Katrina, if I said, if you weren't Katrina, who would you be? And she
That's a good way to put it.
But she didn't know what I was talking about. She just, I don't know. And that's about as far as it went. There's a better way to ask it there.
Sorry about that. I have a spastic esophagus, and sometimes he gets really funny. Kids are so wonderful. If they think you want something out of them, they can't do it. If they're being light and just telling stories, you'd be surprised what they come up with. But if they think you want information, they're, number one, they may not be sure that you'll believe them. They may have parents programming that they can't say certain things to strangers. All kinds of stuff. So catch her when she's busy doing something else. It's like the brain is in neutral and other stuff can come through.
Thank you.
Aren't you sweet? Thank you. Are we done, kids? No, one in the back.
Hi, my name is Ira Rose, and in 1973 I went to India and I met my guru, and he died 5 weeks after I met him, and we cremated him. In 1981 I saw him driving a taxi cab in front of Biddy Milligan's on Sheridan Road.
Or somebody who looked just like him.
Well, that's what I thought, except that it was him. And somebody else who was with me in the car recognized him as well, so I wasn't having an episode, which I may be having other times.
Well, he must be an ascended soul, and I've never known anyone who can do that. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Right. So, am I to gather that it might be that he was just saying hello and that he is my guide? That's my question.
I'm guessing he's one of the newer ones. He's not the one you were born with. Okay, kids, are we done? Okay. He wants to go home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deanna. It was wonderful to have you back. We'll all look forward to our sessions this week. And we are going to Ruby's for dinner. If you want to join us, we'll see you there. Don't forget to take your trash. Thank you, Steve. And don't forget, next month, Rob Schwartz and the Courageous Souls.